And my first trip alone, I was only 13 years old.
Alone?
Alone.
For sure, but 13.
Marketing is an important tool for a company, but I think marketing also has this bad press because they don't show up with data.
What is marketing? What is it good for? The CFO and the COO, they hate marketing. They think we're just a cost center.
If you don't know the outcome, call it strategic and then measure it differently. It is something that needs to be alive. You can't just call a strategy and then run for 5 years. I mean, the motivation was really love, and it was a great bet.
Welcome to the best marketing podcast ever.
Ever.
I love it. I'm Rebel Risty with Rebel Labs, and we are here today with Andrea Giralt.
Giralt,
Giralt.
yeah, you
oh my
named
gosh.
it. Yeah.
I know it sounds like an English person, right? An American. And my partner in crime, Rob.
Hello. I'm Rob Esposito from MaxLux Media.
All right. Well, let's just dive right in, Andrea. You have an amazing background. We'd love to hear more about kind of who you are and where you come from.
Wow, what a big question.
Where do we begin?
Well, I do have an accent, right? So where do you think I am from? You don't know where I am from.
I don't know, and I don't want to guess because I'm going to be wrong. Whatever, you know.
Okay,
I mean,
well.
I could guess the general part of the world, maybe.
All right. So I'm from Spain originally, and I was born in Zaragoza, which is a city between Barcelona and Madrid. And I can't get rid of this accent, so it will have to be with me for the rest of my life. And then what I can tell you about me. So I love, I'm an explorer. I love experiences in life. And when I was very, very young, I decided that I wanted to see the world. And my first trip alone, I was only 13 years old. Alone. And
Wow.
since then, I basically was going on these summer trips by myself. And so I can tell that I have really visited so many countries, cultures, have a ton of experiences with exploring different areas in the world. And but I think that we are more interested in kind of like who I am professionally. Is that a good statement?
Yeah.
For sure, but 13. I mean, I know that Europeans are, travel a lot more, I think, and that's a real tradition in Europe, and also, places are a little more connected. But 13?
13, yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to respond to that question. I think that there was this combination of my parents really being young, because they had me when they were in their 20, 21 years old, and really trusting and believing in me. And at that time, I was using the excuse that I wanted to learn languages to really go on those trips. And that is how it started. So I always had a passion to learn and studied. And so I studied languages really early on. And that helped me really visit places that I would probably not be allowed to, with that excuse of really, I want to deep dive into the German culture.
Yeah.
So my first trip was kind of like in the north of Italy and trying to survive with my little German at that time. But then, from there, I went to Africa and to many other places that now have evolved so much that I think that I still hold seeing things that don't exist anymore. Like the Africa I know doesn't exist anymore. The Cuba I know doesn't exist anymore.
That's interesting.
Sri Lanka, Myanmar.
We think our lives are static. We have this image of things, and they're always going to be the way that I saw them, and and it's such a. It's such a shock when you come back to someplace you haven't been in years and years, and it's so different.
Yep.
And generally that just means, for us in the U.S., like, oh yeah, they have Walmart in New Jersey where I grew up now. But for you, that's something totally different. And you're seeing parts of a planet that are changing. That'll never go back to the way they were. So that's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, have in mind that at that time in Europe, you needed a passport to really cross every border, and you had to change money And I mean, planes, airplane, that wasn't really the normal way of transportation. So basically, I was taking buses.
Wow.
And just going from one place to another, just public transportation.
And you were
Yeah.
just by yourself.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think this says
Brave.
a lot about you. At 13.
There's something special when you travel alone, which is, there's silence that you take with you in the journey, and you're more open to really get to know and understand where you are. And then, it's just a different experience.
That's interesting what you say about silence too, because I feel like is no silence in our modern lives. We don't get a chance to get bored and really get inside our heads anymore, unless maybe we're driving or something or in the shower. Otherwise, it's we're entertained or informed or whatever it is 24/7. And so I think that silence is important, and we've lost that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I do have a need of really getting those weeks for me and going on these solo trips to reconnect and really experience how big the world is and how
Yeah.
insignificant I am as a person. And just going through those, feelings of, vulnerability and openness to new things. So that is part of my need as a person. I started really young doing that, and then life takes you places, and now I'm recovering all those journeys again.
That's good. That's good. It really, I mean, I think being able, I'm fortunate. My mom's from South Korea, so I've had, that exposure to a different culture, but traveling has always been something she loves to do. So I agree, being around other cultures, getting to eat different types of food, trying different, methods of, saying hello or goodbye or whatever those things are. It's such eye opener, and it makes you appreciate, what you have, but also other people in just a different way that you can't do when you just live in your little bubble.
It's important to get out there and have that experience with other cultures, because it's very easy to be myopic and just think this is the way things are done, when in reality this is just the way that you've always done things, right? Which is a different statement. So to bring that to the next step, so how did that bring you here, and to bring that up to today and business and everything? How did you land in the U.S.?
Well, my first job was with Hewlett Packard in Barcelona, right? And Hewlett Packard at that time was a tiny, setup where they were doing these big printers, right? And I was the first person hired to start high volume manufacturing of smaller printers at that time, the consumer printers. And so that was an incredible journey where I learned how to scale operations, and I had the pleasure of really having an open book in terms of where I wanted to focus my career, because a lot of growth was happening. So I started managing commodities, and I did everything from plastics, PCAs, sheet metal, then setting up huge manufacturing sites that turned then later on in industrial parks, and understanding supply chain and logistics, and then moving everything to Asia, and then taking it back to the US. And during that journey, I met my husband in Barcelona, and he was living in the US. And so we fall in love. And at that time, I am the explorer and the brave one. So I was the one that took the decision to, hey, let's abandon my culture, my family, and explore a new world, right? So love was the thing that moved me here to the U.S., right? I was already an executive there, and I had my life, I had my house, I had everything set up. And Barcelona, right?
Oh, yeah, Barcelona.
But then I moved to San Diego, so it's not a bad thing, huh?
No.
No,
And
but
then
boy, love throw some curveballs though.
Yeah, but I mean, the motivation was really love, and it was a great bet. I have 2 kids, and my relationship is very strong, and we've been, 25 years together.
Wow.
And then I found myself here in the U.S., and I was given more and more responsibility, and I did everything from very complex business planning to very complex supply chain architectures, and then managing operational businesses. So from 9 million, I went all the way to manage a 5 billion organization. So I was in charge of the operations. So basically 2 billion in cost of sales of all the consumer printers. And those are all in the world, right? All those printers that you find everywhere. So I learned discipline. I learned how to really manage businesses. I was part of the business team where we decided, which product to launch, everything from cost, technology, delivery. So high pace type of environment. And from there, it was 2012 when Matt Wickman basically took over the CEO of the company, that there was an opportunity to really depart and do something different. And so I communicated that, and I created Giralt Consulting, and that is my consulting company for many years, where I focused in IoT devices, really highly innovative companies and solutions and products. And so helping those companies to really become better and scale and unblock their operations, unblock their strategic thinking to really perform and, get better. So I had clients like 3D robotics. I went into nanotechnologies. I went into health and wellness and supplements. And, I helped a number of very different companies through that journey. And later on, I incorporated with a few partners and created Liberate. And Liberate is a company that provides fractional COOs and CEOs for companies with the fundamental that we are going to help that company in becoming better, breaking the ceiling, and kind of like going through an internal transformation to go someplace differently. So there's a lot of normal or standard CEOs or standard COOs, but not very many know how to get in the guts of a company, work with the fiber of the organization, understand their capabilities, and then really prepare from the inside that company to really propel to the next level. And we do that by really understanding what the owners really want to do in terms of their company, right? So to give you a little more detail, there are owners that don't want to grow. They want just a lifestyle company. And why not, right? So the traditional, the traditional consultant will come and say, hey, no, you need to do all these things. And maybe that is not what they want, right? So you got to first understand what is that those owners really want to do and provide that. Other owners want to just package a company for sale. And others really don't understand what's going on. And something is just out of control, and they want help figuring out how to get up where they are and get the company to flourish and then have more time to think strategically. Right. So there's a variety of cases, and I'm really enjoying this phase a lot because now I see so many different companies and many different spaces that naturally I would not have gone into because I'm very driven by technology, right, and innovation. But I see now all kinds of company in all spaces. And, there's a natural progression for a company to really get in trouble because if you're doing your job well, you're going to come to a level where you're stuck, right? And then you need like a little push to really get out of where you are.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
that is basically what I'm doing now in a nutshell.
Very, very well done.
Yeah.
Maybe really quickly for our audience, or even us, why not just hire a full-time COO or CEO? Where's the advantage of doing fractional?
Yeah, you can totally hire a full-time CEO and COO. You need to understand what you're doing first, right? So some companies are in so much trouble that hiring somebody in that moment that is such a big decision will probably not the right person from after the transformation, right? So you want to have an agent of change, but an agent of change that understands the fiber of the company, that understands how all things come together in a good way that uplifts the organization, that nurtures culture. And you need a particular energy for that, right? And not everybody knows how to do that. Once that is done, it's much easier to really find what is the best candidate for that position. Of course, you can hire from the beginning. It's a business choice, right? It's just a business choice. But I think that once you have done this a number of times, you know what you're facing. You know,
Right.
It's not like you have already choose your pains. You're going to go through pains. Just choose the pain that organization is more prepared to withstand while you're going through the whole deal.
Yeah.
Right?
It sounds like that's a great way to avoid culture or politics and stuff like that, right? You bring in somebody from the outside that's going to come in and help with the strategy, but he's not worried about setting up his long-term legacy or defending his position or any of these other things. So now you have this somebody that's got a clear vision from the outside that can come in and make whatever changes this company needs to be successful and come up with a plan and execute it. Does that sound like it's part of the...
Right on. You see that very well. It's something funny because when you go through that process, you do it from a point of gratitude and detachment, right? So you see more than they see because you're coming from the outside and you see everything that's going on and you know your goal, right? Is to help the owners really get their goal achieved. And you do it in a way that you're here only for a period of time and it's complete detachment, but with a good motivation,
Right. Yep.
So yeah. Right on.
Do you have a story of a client that you guys have recently helped?
We have a lot of stories, how much we can really share. But let's see. I usually take one client only, and I can tell you about my client in the aerospace industry. And that guy was really suffering quite a bit when he approached us because he wasn't really understood. Right? He was put in a position that he didn't understand he was, and the teams were locked into delivering things that were not really conducive to the strategy of the company or the goal of the company. So I went in and, I just provided life to the organization, reorganized so that it was revenue driven, and provided the people that really bring the revenue, the asset that they needed to really work comfortably. And of course, scorecard, metrics, accountabilities. That particular company was benefiting a lot from having the AS 9120 certification, and I got that done in just 4 months. That opened up doors to them that they didn't have before, and so now they were closing bigger and bigger deals.
Yeah.
So basically, in just 2 years of work, only putting 12 hours per week, they doubled the revenue.
Yeah, wow.
And not only that, you would go in the company and there was this joy, right? Everybody was happy, aligned, and there was, we were speaking strategically to customers, which they had never really dreamed before of doing. It was just a nice project.
I'm sure you changed his life. You changed his life.
Yeah, actually, that is the part that I forgot to mention is that he actually got his life back. And he was just showing up to work, like a very minimal percentage of his time, which was liberating for him.
Yeah.
Liberating.
Liberate that. Oh, wow. You would think you were in marketing. I like it. Maybe kind of segue into marketing, since that's our kind of theme of our podcast. From a COO's perspective, what is marketing? What is it good for? Like I kind of have this perception, right? The CFO and the COO, they hate marketing. They think we're just a cost center. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on what's marketing?
Yeah.
To a
so
business?
Marketing is an important tool for a company, but I think marketing also has this bad press because they don't show up with data, and there needs to be some level of correlation with the things that you do with the outcome that is going to provide. And if you don't know the outcome, call it strategic, and then measure it differently, right? But that is what I think when I go to companies and I see the marketing spend and everybody's like upset about that and blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's look at the metrics and what is the strategy? The companies go through a lot, right? And so also understanding while the company goes through a lot, what are the main things that you need to hit? Do you need to hit on company awareness and branding? Do you need to hit about more understanding of the application of the products? Do you want to hit on culture and sell the culture? So there are so many things, but if you hit on everything, you're going to confuse the audience, right? So you got to go figure out first what is that you want to hit. And that strategy should go up in the ladder and be very clear and be connected with the rest of the business strategy. And I think sometimes companies forget about that.
Yeah.
Right? And then you see all the spend and what are the results? Okay, well, you don't have results because there's been no alignment.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah. And I've seen that commonly with clients that I work with. The CEO has one idea and the head of marketing has another of what success looks like, and they just don't bring it together. What would your advice be for kind of the internal marketer or the marketing agency? How do they do a better job bringing data that a COO like yourself wants to see?
Well, they have the same problem that all the different functions have. It's just they need to understand where the company goes strategically and be part of that strategic conversation. Problem is that many companies don't have that strategic discussion really formalized internally. Therefore, it's nobody's fault, really. Everybody wants to do a good job inside a company, and they put the hours, the effort in getting that. But then the problem is how everything comes together. If you don't really have a good strategic and vision review on a regular basis, because that is something that needs to be alive. You can't just call a strategy and then run for 5 years, right? So you need to review your strategy on a quarterly basis, see where you are, tie it with what is you in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and make sure that all your assets that singing the same song, basically. You can't have a clarinet and a flute and just, it's a waste of resources and energy,
Yeah. No, and I think that happens a lot. And I think the bigger the company, maybe the more it happens sometimes because the marketing budgets are just nebulous. And it's like when you were talking about your aviation client, it made me think that in my news feed, I get these advertisements all the time from, I think, Boeing, extolling the values of like their Predator drones or whatever. I'm not buying a Predator drone, I don't have the $6 million, or do I have anyone to blow up right now? So, they're paying for that ad,
Right.
So what is the purpose of that? Who are they trying to target with that ad? So I think that is a thing that happens a lot.
Bigger companies are very, very complex entities. And there, because I have lived successfully inside one of them, and really, really successfully, I really enjoy all my journey inside of. But it's really sophisticated. The organizational charts are matricial, right? They are like all connected. And if you have this sort of understanding of visual systems, then you can understand how to navigate inside a company like that. Their processes that are from these big organizations are not linear, but there are processes that really help in really coming together in one strategy. They are more complex and more diluted, and then yet marketing becomes really difficult because it's very compartmentalized, and Boeing specifically has suffered quite a bit. So there's consequences of those suffers, and now crisis management, PR companies are dealing with that, and that is so complex in nature that I cannot even begin to comment on that.
Yeah.
But just believe, you're a big elephant, right? And that is a conditioned and every decision you make. So,
and it's true. And this was many years ago. I worked at a large organization here in San Diego that everyone probably knows, Qualcomm. And I'll just say it was many years ago, so I have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
But I was like one person on a team of 26, and I did one thing, and even my manager is like, you should go somewhere else. You have too much talent. But that was so common. And then we hired outside agencies that did all the fun work, like the designs and programming the website and all the fun stuff. So I always thought that was interesting. And but it is kind of the beauty of, they have a lot of money, but it's just nobody knows where things are half the time. And no one's talking to each other, to a small business where maybe you only have one person running your marketing or a couple of partners who don't want to do the marketing. So it's...
Well, actually, that is changing, right? With digital transformation and all that digital age that we are, even those very complex companies are morphing, and there's more communication that is needed across the organization to keep the engagement of the new generations that are in those companies. And so this is a fascinating, a new chapter that we could be discussing here forever, and that maybe we can bring in AI into our conversation. But these the companies are living environments, right? Because it's the fiber of the people is in there. Is not people, is also information and transactions and financials. So there's so many layers in all those companies, and now with AI and everything that is happening with digital transformation, you are introducing a factor in that, in how you're making it work and happen, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. I'm really fascinating about this thing that we're going through.
Yeah, I think it definitely is changing the world of marketing for sure. But I think just, the world of business in general. And I like to see the positive. There's definitely things we have to be careful of. Security, letting it do too much of the work. But I think the positives are, it's giving small businesses opportunities to do things they never could have afforded before. Never would have had the bandwidth to do.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that you can digitally automate, why not?
Yeah.
Right. And
I like that. That's a good attitude.
Yeah. You just need to put the controls and really understand the governance, right? Because the laws are behind and giving us the framework. So if you're in a company, you gotta go figure out what are you gonna do with data management, all the governance aspect of AI, and what are the rules of engagement of everybody, and then how you control the environment, how much you digitalize, and how you control the models in terms of making sure they are constantly reviewed so that they are in the good,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So, very nice, Arya. We're getting it.
Wow. I'm probably going to butcher this, but the Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, we're making it. Between all of us, we are drafting it.
Well, Andrea, this has been really great. I've learned so much about you, some things I didn't know. But unfortunately, we are coming to our time, and I know you've got places to be.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap up. Any last thoughts or words of wisdom for our audience out there, in particular our entrepreneurs, business owners, and marketers?
Wow, last thoughts. That's really putting me on the spot. I would say that you take everything one step at a time, and just talk as much as possible with experts and go forward, right?
Yeah.
So there's no other way but
just get on the bus.
Get on the bus.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, cheers.